Have you ever noticed that some NFL players aren't just athletes? They aren't just guys throwing a ball or catching a touchdown. Sometimes they become something much bigger, something almost intangible. They become the heartbeat of a city, the reason a city feels alive on Sunday, the reason a town remembers exactly where they were the day the impossible happened. This isn't about stats, this isn't about MVPs or rings alone. This is about connection, about pride, and about identity. And there are few players in NFL history who, for better or worse, became their city. After Hurricane Katrina, Drew Brees didn't just throw passes, he threw hope into a city that had been shattered. If you watch Brees walk onto that Superdome field for the first time after Katrina, you could feel it on the TV, even from thousands of miles away. It wasn't just a quarterback leading a team, it was a man carrying the city's spirit on his shoulders. The 2006 season wasn't just football, it was therapy for a place that had lost everything: homes, memories, friends, and family. And Brees became the symbol of that recovery. Every touchdown pass wasn't just points on the board, it was a message to the city. We can rebuild. I remember watching the NFC Championship game in 2009. The stadium was electric, the crowd screaming as if their voices could reach heaven itself. And Brees, calm, focused, precise. You could see it in every snap, every throw. He had his way of commanding attention without needing to shout. He made everyone around him better, and for a city that felt broken, he was the steady hand they needed. Then came the 2010 Super Bowl. I'll never forget the first time I saw confetti rain down. Brees holding that Lombardi trophy, surrounded by his teammates, and a city finally exhaling. It wasn't just a win, it was closure, hope, and pride. New Orleans had its heartbeat back, and Drew Brees was the rhythm. And the thing about Brees, he wasn't flashy in a look at me way. He wasn't Favre's chaos or Brady's methodical tyranny. He was approachable, human, and inspiring. You wanted to be near him, to cheer louder, and to believe harder. And fans of all ages, young kids who only known devastation especially, saw someone showing them that greatness could be kind, grounded, and transformative. He made football feel better than football itself. He made New Orleans feel alive again. In the 1980s, San Francisco wasn't just winning football games, it was living in Montana's calm, confident shadow. Montana had this aura. Watching him play, you never got the feeling he was worried. Ever. No matter the score, no matter the quarter, no matter how loud the crowd was. He simply operated on another level of cool. Look back at the 1989 NFC Championship drive. The pressure was insane. Every fan in the stadium could feel the hearts racing, every eye glued to the field. And Montana, he calmly walked the team down the field, dissecting the defense like a chess master. One subtle adjustment here, a quick glance there, and the ball was in the receiver's hand for a first down. He didn't need the theatrics. He didn't need to scramble widely or throw impossibly long passes. He just executed perfectly, every single time. And that consistency made the city of San Francisco believe in itself. Every win felt like a quiet triumph of precision and poise. Off the field, Montana was the same way. He wasn't overly flashy or arrogant. He embodied humility and focus. Fans knew that they could count on him, not just to win, but to make football feel right. It was elegant, controlled, and inspiring. Montana's Super Bowl victories weren't just wins, they were defining moments for the city. People didn't just celebrate football, they celebrated the sense of pride that came from seeing a team, led by a quarterback who never panicked, succeed. It made Sundays feel sacred. It made being a 49ers fan feel like belonging to something bigger, something timeless. And there's a little humor in all this too. Watch old clips of defenders reacting to him, and it's like they can't believe how calm he is under pressure. Montana's coolness was almost unfair. You felt both awe and jealousy. And that, in the end, is why he didn't just play for San Francisco. He was San Francisco in that era. Peyton Manning didn't just play quarterback, he taught us how to watch football. He had just arrived in Indianapolis in 1998, and the city was hungry for something it hadn't felt before: hope that actually made sense, not just hype. Not just flashes of talent, structure, preparation, and intelligence. Watching Manning was like watching a masterclass unfold in real time. Every time he got to the line, he'd scan the defense, shout, "Omaha!" or some code we'd never understand, adjust his protection, shift his receivers, and somehow we fans felt like we understood it. For 2 seconds. Then he'd throw the perfect pass and our heads would explode, and we'd realize we understood nothing at all. Manning had this incredible ability to make the fan feel smart. You'd argue with friends, predict audibles, and debate coverage, and just for a moment you'd think, I could be a quarterback too. Of course, the next play would remind you otherwise. But that's the brilliance. He didn't just win games, he invited us into his mind. The Colts became a city united in analysis. You could walk into any diner or bar in Indianapolis on Sunday and hear debates about formations, linebacker adjustments, or why the blitz failed. Manning didn't just play football, he shaped the way the city thought about football. And then, of course, he went to Denver. Same magic, same impact. The Broncos hadn't felt hope like that in years, and suddenly the streets of Mile High were alive with possibilities. Super Bowl 50 wasn't just a victory, it was a city exhaling decades of longing and believing again. Manning was approachable, human, even funny at times. Those hand gestures, those little smirks, the Omaha jokes, it wasn't just for TV. It was part of the connection with fans, kids, adults, lifelong football nerds. Everyone wanted to understand just a fraction of his genius. He made Sunday feel like school, but the best kind. The kind where you were learning while being absolutely entertained. And when Manning retired, the city didn't just lose a quarterback. Indianapolis, Denver, and football fans everywhere lost a teacher, a strategist, a man who made every fan feel a little smarter and a little prouder of their team. Walter Payton didn't just run the ball, he ran for the city. Chicago in the late 70s and 80s wasn't always pretty. Cold winters, hard streets, tough crowds, and then came Walter Payton, embodying everything you wanted in a Chicago player. Grit, determination, resilience, and heart. Watching Payton play wasn't just about talent. It was about commitment. Every run, every block, every touchdown carried the weight of a city on his shoulders. You didn't just watch him score, you felt Chicago in his stride. He fought for the fans, the streets, the neighborhoods, and somehow, through sheer will and talent, he made the city proud every Sunday. The 1985 season? Legendary. The Bears' defense got all the headlines, but Payton's consistent, unstoppable presence carried the team week after week. Watching him work wasn't just fun, it was inspiring. You could see the determination in every step, the way he refused to quit, even when defenders swarmed him. And off the field, Payton's humility amplified his impact. He gave back, connected with the community, and became a symbol of integrity in a city that demanded toughness, but also respected heart. Chicago didn't just cheer for touchdowns, they cheered for character. They cheered for Walter Payton. Even years later, fans still tell stories about sweetness, remembering not just the stats, but the way he made Chicago feel alive. Every run was a narrative, every touchdown a reminder. Chicago never gives up, and neither does Walter Payton. There's humor too. You watch old clips, defenders trying to tackle him, and you realize Payton's smile, his effortless jukes, made it almost like he was enjoying the city he carried on every play. And you couldn't help but smile back. When he retired, it wasn't just the Bears who felt a loss. The city itself felt a little dimmer, quieter. Payton had defined Chicago on and off the field. He made it impossible to separate football from the pride of being a fan there. Brett Favre wasn't just a quarterback, he was chaos in cleats, and Green Bay loved, feared, and sometimes hated him for it. Favre came to Green Bay in 1992 and immediately changed the way the city lived football. Every Sunday was unpredictable. He threw a no-look pass, scrambled sideways, sometimes throw into what looked like certain disaster, and somehow it always worked. Watching him was like riding a roller coaster, thrilling, terrifying, and addictive. For years, fans felt invincible with Favre leading the Packers. They didn't just cheer for wins, they lived every impossible throw with him. He made Lambeau Field feel like the epicenter of football obsession. Bars, living rooms, tailgates, it didn't matter where you were, Green Bay breathed Brett Favre. But then came the heartbreak. After years of loyalty, retirement rumors, and confusing announcements, Favre left the Jets and ended up signing with the Minnesota Vikings. And suddenly, the city that had worshipped him felt betrayed. Green Bay fans felt like Favre punched them in the gut. He wasn't just leaving a team, he was leaving a city, a community, and decades of trust. Social media, forums, phone calls to friends, everyone was debating, crying, and screaming. For weeks, every Packers fan felt like they had been abandoned mid-game. And even in betrayal, there was grudge and admiration. Favre had always played the game with reckless joy, fearless abandon, and sheer energy. He could throw a 70-yard touchdown while dodging 3 defenders, and even as the city seethed, part of every fan's heart was still in awe. Favre's departure was messy, emotional, and unforgettable because he was never just a player to Green Bay. He was part of their identity, their pride, their Sunday rituals. And when he finally left, the city felt both betrayed and empty, knowing that the chaos, the energy, and the unpredictable magic of Favre would never be the same. And a quick break. This video is unofficially sponsored by City Pulse, Atlanta Edition. It randomly spikes your heart rate, replays Michael Vick running in your brain at 3 a.m., and immediately crashes when you remember how it ended. It vibrates on third down, malfunctions in the fourth quarter, and auto-sighs every time someone says, "This might be our year." City Pulse. Not FDA approved, emotionally unstable, and still the most accurate Falcons experience available. Back to the video. Michael Vick didn't just run the football, he ran through the city itself. Atlanta had never seen anything like Vick in 2001. The man defied physics. He could scramble left, spin right, and somehow make defenders look like they were moving in slow motion. And for the fans, it wasn't just about the yards or touchdowns. It was about the feeling of living on the edge every single Sunday. I remember sitting on the couch during these early Falcon seasons. The crowd at the Georgia Dome erupted not just for a completion, but because they knew something spectacular could happen at any moment. And Vick never let you down. A quarterback running for 60 yards, throwing a perfect strike on the move, breaking ankles and hearts in the same play. That was his signature. That was Atlanta. But it wasn't just his athleticism. Vick carried the energy of a city hungry for excitement and identity. Falcons fans hadn't had a superstar like him in decades. Someone who could make the team competitive, electrifying, and impossible to predict. Every game was a story you couldn't script. And then there was the personality. Vick had charisma, swagger, and charm. He connected with fans off the field too. Media appearances, charity work, and that unmistakable grin after a big run. He wasn't just a player, he was Atlanta's pulse. Of course, there were the highs and the lows. Playoff heartbreak stung harder because the city felt like it had invested its heart directly into him. And later controversies made the connection complicated, painful even. But during his prime, Vick defined Atlanta football in a way few could. He made fans believe in magic, speed, and possibility all at once. Even today, when Falcon fans talk about him, there's awe, nostalgia, and a little longing. Because Michael Vick didn't just play football for Atlanta, he was Atlanta on Sunday afternoons. Daring, thrilling, and alive. And that's the thing about these players. Brees, Montana, Manning, Peyton, Favre, Vick. They weren't just quarterbacks or running backs. They weren't just names on a jersey or stats on a page. They became the heartbeat of their cities. They carried pride, hope, heartbreak, and joy in their cleats and gloves. They made us scream, cry, celebrate, and believe, sometimes all in the same game. And the crazy part, even if you didn't cheer for their team, you felt it. You felt the pulse of New Orleans when Brees threw a touchdown. You felt San Francisco rise with Montana. You felt Green Bay rage and mourn with Favre. You felt Atlanta breathe with Vick. These aren't just stories about football. They're stories about connection, about what it means to be a part of something bigger than yourself, about how one player, one team can make an entire city feel alive. So if you loved reliving these moments, if you felt that rush of pride, heartbreak, or awe, make sure you hit subscribe because we're just getting started. And there's so many more stories like this, moments like this, players who become more than football. Drop a comment too. Tell me which player made your city feel alive. I want to know which heartbeat shaped your Sundays.